This Ford T1000 tractor was built in 1965 for Ford by Jacobsen, as were many of the small garden tractors of that time. The T1000 was only built for 1 year, 1965, and there are 452 serial numbers listed as T800 and T1000 models. The T1000 has a 10-horse air-cooled Kohler K241S engine. The Ford T800 tractor featured an 8-horse Kohler engine. In 1966, the T800 and T1000 were replaced with an upgraded tractor called the T80 and T100. Later versions were called the LGT tractors. My father bought this tractor new in the fall of 1965. He also ordered some options with the tractor, such as a headlight kit, tire change, snowplow blade, mower deck, and a snow blower. As a young lad in 1965, I drove this tractor home from the dealer to my dad's home, which was about 2 miles away. My dad followed behind me in his truck, blocking traffic from hitting me on the shoulder of the highway. I was going so slow that he finally passed me about halfway home and was motioning for me to shove the throttle wide open and get a move on it. I motioned back that it was wide open already, but I had the feeling something wasn't quite right, as the engine sounded like it was running just slightly faster than idle speed. When I finally made it home, my father discovered that the throttle cable was slipping in a clamp that wasn't tightened down. After tightening the clamp, the little Ford would really go, and if not careful when letting out the clutch, one could accomplish unexpected wheelies or lay a small patch of rubber. I probably have several thousand hours sitting on this tractor while mowing, snow blowing, disking the garden, and hauling firewood. We used this T1000 until 1989. My father passed away in 1986, and when I sold his estate in '89, I let the tractor go with the estate. Up to this point, all we had ever done to the tractor was change the spark plug once or twice and change oil. No tune-ups were ever required. About 10 years after I sold his estate, I decided that I wanted the little Ford back just for sentimental reasons. I asked the owner if he'd sell it back to me, and he stated that it wasn't running anymore. The starter generator was bad. I didn't really care, as I was thinking about a full restoration job anyway, but he still wouldn't sell it to me. I asked him not to sell it to anyone else, as I really did want it back someday. For the next 10 years, I kept asking him to sell it to me. Then, in the summer of 2010, he stopped at my shop, and once again I asked if he was ready to sell it to me. He said, "What tractor?" My heart sank to rock bottom, as I figured he had forgot about me wanting it, and had sold it to someone else, or worse yet, had hauled it to the scrapyard. When I mentioned the little Ford, he says, "You want that thing? What do you want that for? It doesn't run anymore and all the tires are flat." I told him once again that I didn't care what shape it was in, as I was planning on fixing it up someday when I got time. He told me if I really wanted it, to come and get it, so I was there the next night with my trailer to pick it up. I remember thinking, after struggling to get it loaded into the trailer, if I really wanted to drag all this junk home. I normally don't have to look very far to find something to keep me busy without dragging more work home. The little Ford had sat for over 10 years without running. That winter, I tore the whole tractor apart to start on the restoration in January 2011. By the end of February 2011, the restoration was done and it was ready to run. The transmission and rear axle were the most time-consuming of the entire project. The tractor had been run without hardly any lube in the tranny rear axle, and also the number of hours on the tractor had taken its toll on the axle shafts and some of the internal parts. I had new axle shafts made and modified to accommodate a different type of oil seal to eliminate oil leaking problem that had been a problem on this tractor since day one. Getting the tranny rear axle back together took some time, as I didn't have enough hands to hold everything in place while trying to slide the axle housings onto the center tranny case. Things just kept sliding out of place at the wrong time, but eventually I got it all together and it actually worked. Once the frame was attached to the tranny, all the little pieces rapidly became one big piece again. Most of the tractor consists of the original parts yet. Even the tires are the original 1965 Goodyear tires. I didn't replace them, as Goodyear apparently does not make these tires anymore. All of the decals and graphics that you see on this tractor are exact duplicates of the original, and located in the same locations as they were when the tractor was new. The exception to this is the Ford script on the snowplow. The most important thing that this tractor has to do from now on is look pretty at the tractor shows, at least while I own it.